"Thank you, Clara, for protecting a soldier's honor," the four-star colonel declared as the military arrived at Maggie's diner. A quiet waitress fed a homeless boy day after day, asking nothing in return. Her kindness stirred the town's press, inspiring tales of camaraderie, courage, and recognition. Welcome to OpenMinded Stories. Open your mind, feel the happy life, and hit subscribe every morning as dawn peeks over the endless cornfields of Harrington, Nebraska. Maggie's diner comes alive. The scent of fresh coffee mingles with the warm, toasty aroma of bread drifting from the kitchen, tucked between a dusty auto shop and an old general store. This little diner is the beating heart of our small town in 2025. Vinyl chairs creak under familiar faces. The doorbell chimes with every new arrival, and early sunlight streams through steamy windows, casting soft, hazy beams across the worn wooden floor. This is where Clara Evans, 32, starts her day. She ties a faded green apron around her waist, her gentle smile hiding a deep, quiet loneliness. Clara lives alone in a small apartment above the town bakery, where thin walls hum with the ovens below. Her father, an army nurse, died in a car accident when she was 12. Her mother, worn down by illness, passed 2 years later. All that's left are keepsakes: her dad's old journal, its yellowed pages filled with his steady handwriting, and a handkerchief embroidered with Semper Memor, always remember, carried through his years in war, on quiet nights. Clara opens that journal, reading his words about sharing food with hungry kids in his neighborhood after coming home. "Kindness is how we repay life," he wrote. "A shared piece of bread doesn't make you poor, but hoarding it leaves you starving." Those words are etched in Clara's heart, a small flame warming her through lonely years. Each day, she wakes before dawn, walks 3 blocks to Maggie's diner, and greets regulars with a voice that's warm but guarded. One Tuesday morning in early October, she notices a boy, maybe 10, sitting quietly at the farthest table by the window, overlooking the empty street. Tommy, she'd later learn his name, has sharp, cautious eyes, like he's watching the world but doesn't want to be seen. A bulky backpack sits beside him, heavy as a loyal companion, and a worn paperback lies open in front of him. He orders just water, sipping slowly through a paper straw, his gaze flickering to plates of toast and fried eggs around him. Day 2, then day 3. Tommy orders only water. Clara sees the hunger in his eyes, not just for food, but for something deeper, a void she knows too well from her own childhood, when her mother skipped meals to save scraps for her. On the 5th day, Clara sets a plate of warm toast sprinkled with cinnamon before him, pretending it's a mistake. Oops, kitchen made extra. Eat up before it goes to waste. She smiles, turning away before he can protest. From behind the counter, she watches him hesitate, then dig in, eyes fixed on his book as if hiding his gratitude. "Thanks," he whispers, so soft it almost melts into the diner's hum. Clara nods, her heart warming, like she's reclaimed a piece of her father's memory. That quiet act of kindness becomes a wordless ritual between her and the boy. A plate of toast, a refilled glass of water. She doesn't know it yet, but this small gesture will soon ripple beyond Tommy, touching all of Harrington. In a world quick to question kindness, Clara's act is a tiny spark, waiting to ignite. Every morning, Clara Evans keeps her quiet ritual at Maggie's diner, setting a plate of warm toast or a bowl of oatmeal sprinkled with brown sugar in front of Tommy. "Kitchen made extra. Eat up before it goes to waste," she says softly, her voice steady as cinnamon's sweet scent fills the air. At 7:15 sharp, the doorbell chimes as Tommy walks in, his oversized backpack dragging his shoulders down. He eats fast, eyes glued to his book, muttering a faint thanks before heading out at 7:55 toward the elementary school 3 blocks away. Clara doesn't pry, but his sharp, guarded eyes hiding some unspoken secret remind her of her own childhood, when her mother skipped meals to save the last scraps for her. Hunger isn't just about food, her father wrote in his journal. It's about needing someone to notice you. But Clara's kindness doesn't go unnoticed. Harold, a retired postman with wild silver hair, sits at the counter, raising an eyebrow. Feeding strays now. Clara, watch out. Kids these days take advantage. Ellen, the cook, with her hair pulled tight and a gruff but not unkind tone, pulls Clara aside after 3 weeks. Free food just makes him dependent. One day, he'll vanish like a stray cat. Clara smiles, shakes her head. I've been that hungry. Ellen, a breakfast won't bankrupt anyone. It's rare for her to mention her past, those lean years when neighbors' kindness, like her father's for the kids in his old neighborhood, kept her fed. The doubts don't stop. A businessman in a gray suit, a Wednesday regular, smirks. Charity during work hours. Nobody gives free food these days. Clara lets the words slide, like November's chill slipping through the diner's window cracks. But the pressure builds when Ben, the manager, calls her into his office under harsh fluorescent light. He taps the desk. Clara, I see you feeding that kid for free. It's gotta stop. It's bad for business. She grips her apron, voice firm. I'll cover it with my tips. It's just breakfast. Ben frowns, eyeing her like she's trying to buy the whole diner. Your tips? You barely cover rent. After a heavy pause, he sighs. Fine. But if there's trouble, it ends. Trouble comes faster than she expects. One frigid Thursday. Tommy doesn't show. Clara sets his toast out anyway, hoping the doorbell will ring. The plate sits, cold and untouched. A cruel reminder. Friday passes, then a whole week, still no Tommy. A hollow ache settles in Clara's chest, like she's lost a piece of her father's memory. She opens his journal, traces the Semper Memor handkerchief he left behind, recalling how he shared half a loaf with a homeless kid. Kindness doesn't need a reason. Clara. But when a local social media post mocks her, Maggie's diner serves imaginary guests with a photo of Tommy's empty table and untouched toast. Her heart stings. Was Ellen right? Did Tommy just come for free food? Or is he hiding something? Like she once hid her own hunger, Clara keeps setting out the plate each morning, waiting, even as hope fades like the pale winter sun outside the diner's windows. On a Tuesday morning, the 21st day, without Tommy, Maggie's diner falls into an eerie hush. The usual chatter of regulars, the clink of spoons against plates, it all stops dead. 4 black SUVs with military plates roll into the parking lot, forming a crescent. November sunlight glints off their tinted windows as the engines cut off, and Harrington seems to hold its breath. Clara, pouring coffee by the window, looks up, her heart pounding. Customers freeze mid-bite, forks hovering. As soldiers in crisp uniforms step out, standing tall beside the vehicles, from the lead SUV, a tall man with a stern but dignified face strides toward the diner. The bell jangles sharply, slicing through the tense air, marking a moment that feels irreversible. The man, his uniform gleaming with medals, removes his cap, revealing silver-streaked hair. I'm looking for Clara Evans, he says, his deep voice carrying through the diner. Clara sets the coffee pot down, hands trembling slightly, and steps forward. I'm Clara, she says, her voice steady despite a dry throat. Colonel Robert Hayes, Special Forces Command. He introduces himself, pulling a crisp white envelope from his chest pocket. I'm here to honor a promise to a soldier. Clara's brow furrows as she repeats the name he mentions, Thomas Carter. The colonel nods. The boy you fed every morning. Tommy is the son of Corporal John Carter, one of the finest soldiers I ever commanded. The word hits like a blade, making the floor beneath Clara sway. The colonel explains, after John was deployed on a classified mission, his wife left, abandoning Tommy, afraid of being sent to foster care. Tommy hid his situation, telling neighbors his mother was away on business, surviving on his father's meager emergency fund. Proud kid. But starving, the colonel says. opening the envelope. John wrote before he died. "If I don't make it back, thank Clara at Maggie's diner. She fed my son without asking questions, kept his dignity intact." John gave embroidered handkerchiefs to those he cherished, a way to keep memories alive. Clara clutches the letter, tears blurring the handwritten words, feeling like she's touching her own father's legacy, the man who shared half a loaf with hungry kids. The colonel stands taller, raising a rare salute to a civilian. The soldiers behind him follow, their shadows sharp against the diner's glass. Harold, who once mocked Clara, bows his head, muttering, "I was wrong. Kid." Ellen, from the kitchen, quietly sets a fresh plate of toast at Tommy's empty table, her eyes red. Customers, even those who'd sneered, sit silent, some visibly ashamed. The scent of coffee fades, leaving only the thud of Clara's heart. "You didn't just feed a child," the colonel says, his voice low but warm. "You protected a soldier's honor." Clara, still holding the letter, feels an invisible thread to her father, as if her kindness carries forward his journal's lessons. The diner, once buzzing with skeptical whispers, now bears witness to a quiet moment of recognition, a small flame of courage that's lit up all of Harrington. After the military's visit, Maggie's diner becomes Harrington's heart. Clara Evans and Tommy's story spreads like wind through Nebraska's cornfields, from coffee counter chats to social media and the local paper's front page. The post mocking imaginary guests is replaced by a heartfelt article, "Waitress Saves Soldier's Son's Dignity." It racks up thousands of shares. Customers ask for Clara's table, leaving tips with notes. "You remind me kindness still exists." An elderly woman, eyes sparkling, grips Clara's hand. "You're like my mother, always saving a plate for someone in need." Clara smiles, warmth spreading like November sunlight through the diner's windows. A week later, Maggie's hosts its first Veterans Day event, funded by the town. The diner's packed with veterans, military families, and locals. Harold, the old postman who scoffed at Clara, stands mid-ceremony, voice shaky. "I was wrong. Clara, you showed me kindness doesn't need a reason." Ellen, the cook who warned about stray cats, hugs Clara behind the counter, whispering, "I thought you were naive, and now I get it." Ben, the gruff manager, hangs a small American flag by Tommy's table with a sign for those who serve and their families. He announces a fund for military families, revealing he donated half the money himself. Surprising Clara. "My dad fed strays too," Ben says, shrugging with a self-deprecating grin. "Now I see why." One morning, a letter arrives from Montana, written in careful, childish scrawl. "Clara, you were the only one who saw me when I felt invisible. Dad said heroes wear uniforms, but I think they wear aprons too. Thank you. Signed, Thomas Carter." Clara frames it, hanging it quietly behind the counter, a silent reminder. The next day, she finds an embroidered handkerchief on her desk, Semper Memor stitched neatly, just like her father's. No one knows who left it, a soldier, a regular, or Tommy's family. Its soft fabric, fresh with the scent of new cloth, feels like a wordless thank you, echoing her father's legacy. Kindness never fades, it just changes shape. Ben puts up a new sign at the door. "No one leaves hungry, no matter who you are." As Clara walks home under the sunset's glow, she touches the handkerchief in her pocket, thinking of Tommy growing up in Montana, carrying his father's memory and her kindness. A cool breeze hums through Harrington streets, whispering of a town awakened. She smiles, feeling an invisible thread tying her to her father, to Tommy, to this community. Her quiet courage didn't just feed a boy, it sparked hope in those who'd forgotten what compassion means. Outro: a waitress quietly fed a boy, saving a soldier's dignity. If you believe kindness changes lives, write hope, share this story, and join us to spread compassion and honor veterans' sacrifice.